Smarterfan. Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. And Barry, we made it to our 100th episode.
Can you believe it, buddy?
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Wow, 100.
Yeah, man.
My mother's song used to be one of her favorite songs, Climbing the Rough Side of the Mountain, one of her favorite gospel songs. But this has been a great journey, my friend. This is exciting. We have some exciting people coming on to celebrate with us our 100th episode that we're going to kick off tonight. And wow, good buddy, can you believe it?
Yeah.
Quick, right?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Wow, really quick. Wow, exciting. Exciting times at Smarterfan Podcast, and we've only just begun.
That's right. So, the NBA playoffs. Now, I mean, the Thunders, they just put a beating on the Grizzlies. They beat them by 51.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 131 to 80.
Oh, my goodness.
They were 7 points short of the record for the largest game one win in NBA playoff history.
Oh, my. Oh, they put up.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, these games they're crazy. I mean, the T-Wolves, they just manhandled the Lakers.
Yeah.
You know, they beat them 117-95. And that was just a very physical game. You know? And they said they just put Luka out on an island and just picked on him all night. You know? So now the Knicks, they just seemed to sleepwalk through the first three quarters. And then all of a sudden, Detroit just fell apart in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks went on a 21-0 run.
Really?
Yeah. And they beat them 123-112.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now your boy Jimmy Butler, he delivered.
Listen. I keep trying to tell people, money time is Jimmy time. Regular season, he gonna be there now. But when it's money time, he's a problem.
Yeah.
He's a problem.
He certainly was, because he put up 25 points, had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals.
Now you're gonna have to ask yourself, is Jimmy the problem or the franchise he's left the problem? Because they're not winning. Where he left, they're not winning.
No. They just got beat by the Cavs by 21.
Yeah, they're not winning. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But I still think Golden State needs one more piece, but they're real close. They need a big. I think they need a big.
Yeah.
They need a big.
Now, the Celtics got a scare when Jason Tatum took a hard fall on his wrist.
Yeah, I saw that. I
saw
that.
But the x-rays came out negative, so they said he's good to go against Orlando for the next game. Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're the finalists for the MVP. Now, Jokic is looking to join LeBron and Bill Russell in winning 4 and 5 years. Now, he's averaged a triple-double for the season. So now, Alexander, he led the league in scoring. He averaged 32.7 points a game. So now he led OKC to a franchise record 68 wins. So I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the West.
Oh yeah, if the front office continues to make the right moves,
because they're young, they're athletic, and they're hungry.
Yeah, they are. They need a seasoned vet or two.
Yeah.
I don't like how Denver is overlooking Westbrook because he's been averaging triple doubles, double doubles,
Yeah.
just as well, but he doesn't get as much shine as Jokic, and I don't know why. Seems very
Well,
strange.
well, this is only the beginning, so we'll just have to see how all of this shakes out.
Okay, buddy.
But we have a guest.
We do have a guest. I reached back into the archives, and not really the archives, to a very, very good friend of mine, Mr. Sandy Mack from Florida, Fort Pierce. And if that Mack last name sounds familiar, it is familiar because he is the father of Kahlil Mack, the NFL superstar. And so we were very fortunate to get him to give a perspective and to give an insight of being a parent, a successful parent, having successful sons in the NFL, and what that journey has been. So sit back, enjoy. It's going to be an interesting conversation we have this evening for our Smarterfan family. So with no further ado, we're bringing on Mr. Mack. Welcome, Mr. Mack.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, fellas.
Glad to have you. How you feeling?
On 100 episodes.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Very exciting. It's been a journey, and it's been a growth process. As you know, to do anything and to achieve anything, it takes work.
Indeed.
And I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to meet you through a mutual friend, Greg Jones, down at Treasure Coast.
Yes, sir.
And we got to meet and talk and really form a friendship on our own. And the cherry on top was really that you were the father of Kahlil Mack.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just like, it didn't even kind of occur to me. It was just kind of, we just vibed and talked, and we were, you know, talking and everything. And then it was kind of like, Matt, are you the father? So it's quite interesting. So tonight I wanted to give a perspective and just kind of set the table with two parts. It's really kind of give us some history of you. And the reason why businessman, community leader, always looking to help and give back in your own world, you know, and that's how we met and what you've done. So I'd like you to share with our audience your career, what you've done, what you're doing now, and so forth. Because you're just a very fascinating person on your own right.
Appreciate that, B.
Absolutely, sir.
Well, thank you. Thanks again for having me. It's been, when you talk about jobs I had, man, goodness, I can go back to dishwasher. I can go back to professional career as a correction officer, juvenile detention worker. And then what started me was when I started a job at a day treatment program for kids, boys and girls. And that was a therapeutic type of a program. So that started me really having a love for trying to help kids, you know, because when you work at a facilities like corrections and detention care workers, you just in there for the job, you know. And then you have to deal with difficult kids that and you see good kids come through that process and wind up being, you know, having those, like a better word, spirits to attach to them, but then they continue that cycle. So so working at the day treatment program helped me. And then there was a good friend. It was a guy came to Fort Pierce, and they wanted to start a boot camp type of a program. It was a game prevention type of a program.
Nice.
The Raw Dogs Youth Corps.
Okay.
And they pastor, a friend of mine here, they met and they called me and asked if I would help operate the program. So we operated that program for a couple of years before the grant ran out. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But then I started my own my own nonprofit, working with young boys, because that's a forte of mine. Through the grace of God, man, you know, I'm a Christian, and I say that loudly and proudly because I'm not just somebody that goes to church as a religious type of activity. I go to build my relationship with God.
Absolutely.
And through that process, man, God gave me a heart to work with young boys, work with kids and try to help redirect them. And I'm glad, like I said, when I started, not only that I was building my relationship with God through the job, through Juvenile Detention Center and onward, God really had applied His wisdom to me to be able to help my sons at the same time because they were young, and and we were teaching them how to grow in a relationship with God, my wife and I. And so we raised them in church, and we raised them also to give back because I had my boys going with me everywhere to volunteer. You know, when you work with the church, you got to go. You know, they lean on you to do some things. You know, we used to go and volunteer and do things. And when I worked at the Raw Youth Corps, Kahlil was one of my youth leaders.
Okay.
So they always had a heart to volunteer and give back, and so I taught my sons how to do that. I learned how to talk to them and try to make sure that because as a Black parent, you'd be so scared for raising kids in the hood, and you try to hold on to them, and you got to scare them a little bit. And but I had to learn how to talk to my boys, talk to them and let them know. And find out ways how I can help them redirect their behavior without making them redirect their behavior. What happened with me, Barry? That's and we're still doing it right now. Like I said, I'm still have a nonprofit. I'm still in my church at Miracle Prayer Temple. My wife and I have been married for over 34 years.
Congrats.
And she was another one that was real instrumental in helping redirect my behavior. That's awesome. Basically it, B.
That's awesome. Give us a little perspective. Fort Pierce is a very interesting place.
Yes.
A lot of history that people don't realize involving Black people and leadership and community stuff. So share some highlights about. People don't know that Nora Neale Thurston, the famous author, is from Fort Pierce.
Yes. And the Highwaymen too, artists in Fort Pierce as well. Fort Pierce got this being back. This like I said, the Highwayman, and like you said, her Zora. She was a resident here for a number of years in Fort Pierce. Yeah, Fort Pierce is kind of interesting, man. But we have a beautiful beach.
Yeah.
And I believe God is working on getting people to work together in Fort Pierce. That's what we need. Yeah. I know you'll find that anywhere, but if we can get everybody to come on one accord, and I believe God is going to do that before He comes. But get everybody working on one accord to help raise the economic development for everybody in the area, man. So I think, and like I said, we have beautiful beaches, man. We got a port that a good friend of mine is an owner down in the area, because we were going into the yacht business at one time, Barry. I don't know if you remember that.
Greg told me that, and I was like, well, what happened? What?
We didn't get the bid. It's a Black company that was going against another company, but they got the bid from the county. But so we just a good friend of mine is still owner there, and he's just waiting on them, because they really can't do anything there until he co-signs on
it. Yeah. So you thinking about going back into the yacht business?
Well, I know
if that happens,
he may be going back into it.
Okay.
But, since then, the business that we had with them kind of dissolved.
Okay.
Because of the fact that they didn't get the bid.
Okay.
You know how they go. Strictly business.
Yeah. Well, I know you, Mr. Mack. You got something cooking on the back burner, the right burner, in the convection oven, in the stove. You always got something good cooking. So, but I want to shift gears, and thank you so much, because I just your background is so fascinating to me, and your heart to give back and work with young people. But Joe wants to talk to you about the other side of your life. And so, Joe, you got the floor.
Well, thank you for coming, sir, first of all. And so what were your son's first experiences with sports?
Watching me and my twin brother go at it, basketball, football, whatever. But his first experience, I used to allow them to, whatever we could afford at the time, to play any sport that they wanted to play. Baseball was one of them that my oldest son got into, and and the other guys followed along. But baseball was the first thing that they really got a taste of, because we always played basketball, in the backyard, at the courts, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But that was what that's what they really got into at the time when they were young.
Yeah, that was my son's first love and only love, baseball.
Really?
Yeah. So
you still playing now, or?
Nah, he's settled down. So
okay.
He got married, and he's just settled down. So that was his thing in his youth. So,
okay.
Yeah. So what motivated them to pursue a career in football?
Man, all that was the grace of God. I have a son that we didn't raise because he was. My wife and I had a young a kid when we were. I think she was still in school actually as a senior. I was 18, and she gave him up for adoption. So by the grace of God, man, I guess this would be the first time me ever saying it on something like this on this platform. But he was adopted out of Miami and moved to Michigan, I think it was, by a white family, and they raised him. They raised him to be a good man, because he actually got drafted in the NFL in the 6th round by Miami Dolphins, and I didn't know about it. We didn't know that, but through Ancestry.com, he found us like in 2017. And we first met him when he was like 36 years old. Like, that's a few years ago. So that's the grace of God, man. That's the grace of God, man. Because he was drafted in the 6th round by Miami Dolphins, and we didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
And actually, I seen a game with him playing when they played Miami Dolphins. His last name was Parmalee. And I seen a black guy running the football as a running back. And then when you zoned in, his last name was Parmalee. I'm like, a black guy with the name Parmalee? It made me think.
Yeah.
And you know, I was watching my son.
Wow, Mr. Mack.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, it's the grace of God, man. And then my son, Kahlil, we were at church one day, and we were like in the 10th grade. And we were before church. We were shooting around. The kids were shooting around, and as they were shooting around, I heard something pop. When I looked around, it was him. He was on the ground holding his leg with a bone protruding out his knee. I'm like,
ouch.
Oh yeah. So but through the grace of God, he got through that. And then my sons never used to want to work out with me, but after he was going through that injury, he said, "Papa, I want to go to the gym with you." So I was like, "Okay, let's go." And so I said, if you continue to come to me to the gym, I can have you bench pressing 225 on the incline, but you got to stick with me. And he was motivated. He said, "Yes, sir." And before 30 days, he was inclining 225 on the incline. That's how serious he was.
Wow.
But the coach seen him when he got to the 12th grade, and my idea was he was kind of slacking in his grades. So I'm like, "You're not playing football this year. You're not doing anything. You got to get these grades up. You're going to graduate and get out of 4 periods, but we don't want you hanging around 4 periods. You're going into the military. First thing, man. First day smoking." So when the coach came, when the football coach seen him, he had grew so big that the football coach had to come and beg me, and Mr. Mack, please let him play. I'll get him in college. I guarantee. I say, man. And so it took him about 5 minutes to convince me. So I'm like, man, it's on your word. It's on your word that we'll let him play. And sure enough, he got him a scholarship. He got a scout to come see him. He got a visit with Liberty University. And that scout left. They went to Buffalo, and then he got the coach there at Buffalo to give him a visit. And he came back home and was like, "Okay, it's your choice. Which one you want, because I'm not one of those fathers that make my kids do anything. Whatever you do, my dad told me, whatever you do, you better do it well because you represent me.
That's right.
Real, man.
Yeah.
So it was like, so he got through that process, man, and
oh wow.
And he decided to go to Buffalo, and I was looking at it like it was crazy. I'm like, it was 4 feet of snow when he was there. You know, he come from a family that didn't have the means to send him up there with that New York weather kind of his shoes, and he walk around in that snow. He came back and said that's where he wanted to go. I said, well, you better make it work.
Yeah.
Because I found out in Buffalo they got Mid-American Conference, and I told him that they're not spelling Mac right. Before you leave, you better make sure that they know how to spell Mac. You know, so he went up there and God just blessed him, man. And his second, he redshirted his first year. Second year, I had why he was redshirting. I had the newspaper call me and asked me, Mr. Mack, do you know what your son up here doing? And he wasn't playing the game yet. I'm like, what? No, sir. He was like, your son is doing some things we never seen on the football field. And I was working for my church at the time because my church had founded a program called Project Rock. It was a program for suspended kids to keep them off the streets. Because it was a kid got killed, and all the churches came together, and they were supposed to collaborate in building a program that would have these kids go into a safe environment and working with the school system. They won't be counted as absent when they get back to school. You serve your time, and you'll get to be able to keep up with your schoolwork.
Yeah.
But during that time, we used to talk to the kids to try to help redirect their behavior, because that same principle that I worked at the day treatment program, I brought it to on Project Rock. So we were able to get kids that came in for fighting each other to begin to, work it out and become friends and not have that issue ever again.
Wow.
That was the benefits of working in that program. Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give other parents who are supporting their kids' athletic career?
I would, man, you just got to pray. Y'all, can I speak my mind? Because that's it.
You red carpet, Mr. Mack, red carpet.
You have to pray, and you have to first have a relationship with God to believe His word. Because the Bible says, "I never seen the righteous forsaken nor seed begging bread." Do you believe it, or is it something you say? Do you believe that Jesus, you can go and pray to Him and He will answer your prayers? Because everything that happened through my son, it wasn't nothing but the grace of God. That's all I'm saying. How was it that a young man with the last name Mack go to the Mack conference and break records and do what he did there? How can a son that I never knew go through almost the same process and the same career goal? How is it that my youngest son ended up playing in the NFL as well? I have 4 boys, but one turned out to be a little too much like his daddy when he was young. I'm not ashamed to say it. But it's just the grace of God, man. If you don't believe that God can do exceeding abundantly above all that you could ask or think, according to the power that works in you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you have to understand. It's not something you say. Everything we prayed for, God has answered. And He did exceeding abundantly above that, what greater gift that God could give you to know that your son, now my youngest son, he went through the stint in the NFL, but when he got cut from the Bears, he came home with a business plan. And that business plan that he had, now he's doing that. Now he got 2 employees working for him. He got a full complex. He got this program called the Degree. It's like a Pilates studio. So he came to develop that and worked it, put machines together, and to see your sons do something much better than you did at that age. That's nothing but the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about doing criminal activities. I'm not worried about them doing stuff that will cause them to be incarcerated or dead. I thank God for that, man. So it's nothing but the grace of God that I can attribute it to. Every time somebody asks me about it, I just say it's the grace of God. Who would have knew? My son wasn't going to play football. Kahlil, I wasn't going to let him play football. But through the grace of God, God was directing and moving when I didn't know it. You know, that's His grace. You know, and I can't explain it in that. So but that's why I wasn't one of those fathers that was overbearing, trying to make, yelling at the coach for not letting my son play, being one of those parents that's all in the way. You know.
Yeah.
I just told my sons, if I'm going to come to a game, I don't want to see you watching the game with me. That don't make sense. If you're on the team and you sitting down on the bench watching the game with me, that's not going to work. I'm not going to have that. I'm not coming to a game if you're going to do that. I mean, you're doing it. Whatever you do, like I said, my daddy told me, I taught my son, whatever you do, you better make sure you're the best dad. Yeah. Because even before Kahlil went to college, I say, listen, man, if you're going to train for football, if that's something you want to do, somebody out there that you have to take their position. And once you take it, you're going to have to maintain that position. So you can't be number two. You always got to be number one, and ask God to assist you in doing that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's what we teach our boys, man. But that's a long answer. But that's
what's up. That's what's up.
Yes, sir.
So, we're gonna take a short break. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah.